What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of one of my most highly anticipated albums of the year, the brand new record from a band called the Maine. This new record is called Lovely Little Lonely, and I've been hyped for this ever since I heard the fantastic single Bad Behavior. Now honestly, I've noticed that this record and its path is kind of following a very similar trajectory to American Candy, an album that you guys know I was ecstatic about, one of my favorites of 2015. Some of my absolute favorite songs from the Maine were featured on that record, and all in all, it's been something that I have constantly coming back to over and over again for more listens, just to let it all sink in. It's like the Maine are emo at heart, but I'm growing up with them, and I see that as a companion piece here on their new album, Lovely Little Lonely. It's like part 2 to American Candy. Not an exact copy, just them further maturing and growing, and we get to see their sonic evolution, and it's honestly fascinating. The only two songs I heard preceding this album's release were Black Butterflies and Deja Vu, and of course Bad Behavior. And of those two, honestly, I'm liking Black Butterflies the most. It's a track that has a high octane energy, and hearing it in the context of this record, it makes it even better. All throughout, this album does stick to a kind of strict concept. It's talking about just growing older, I feel like, looking back and reflecting on life, and I love the commentary that they have here. They're talking about getting further into their 20s, growing up, exactly what that means, getting lost in nostalgia at one point, almost being blinded by it, maybe to a certain degree, and looking back and seeing exactly where you are. They talk about taking in the moment, being with the people that you're with now, and enjoying that because you might blink and, hey, you're 35 years old. But yeah, this record does have a pretty cool concept to it, and I like that they connect the dots with the Lovely Little Lonely tracks. It's 3 separate songs, all just one word each, Lovely Little Lonely, and each one of them is kind of a transitory track. I like that they are putting this in here kind of to emphasize like, hey, this is maybe like an extended outro, but we're going to give it its own song. They develop them a little bit more, and we saw them tinkering with that on American Candy. Like, look at the end of 24 Floors into English Girls. You could see kind of the extended outro there, and then it jumps back into a high octane, more energetic moment. And we see that here most prominently, I would say, right after Lovely, jumping into Black Butterflies and Deja Vu, which has a burst of guitars on that, and I love the vocals on that as well. A little bit distorted, and I like that they're layered and that sort of thing, especially in the opening, during the chorus as well. And honestly, that's something I could commend for the majority of this record. The backing vocals, they're on point. Other moments where you can hear those backing vocals really shining is Do You Remember the Other Half of 23 and The Sound of Reverie as well. An absolute favorite, a smash of a tune, something that I am loving, one that I could really just single out as probably being my favorite song here. If not for the lyrical content, the musicality of it as well, because it kind of goes in and out. It goes with a little bit of a fade at first, a little bit of a slower approach, and then really hits you with that chorus. And if there's one thing that the Maine know how to do, it's how to do a chorus and a hook right. Taxi is another moment that you absolutely have to listen to, even if you don't check out the entire project. If you've ever enjoyed the Maine, I feel like this has elements of everything. It's something that starts off slow, it's got the acoustic guitar, reminds me of some of their earlier material, just the catchiness and effervescence of that tune, but as it goes on with the lyrical content, it's kind of a sad and dark tune because he's talking to this girl presumably in the back seat, and she's asking him, does the sadness last forever, essentially? And he's like, I turned and looked at her and said, yes, it actually does. Now, I mentioned earlier the similarities between this album and American Candy, and here I definitely see that they started off the record with a similar tone. Like Miles Away on American Candy, a high octane, they even said, I don't ever want to come down, and the title of the opening track here is Don't Come Down. This one is so sly with the way that it is catchy because it's almost apathetic in the way that he's singing it, especially during the chorus. It's just kind of dry, not in a bad way at all, but it's almost like, is he being sarcastic? I can't tell if he's super happy or just totally over whatever the situation is, but I almost love that, the fact that I can't totally point a finger at it and say, yeah, that's what this song's about. Getting towards the end of this record, I'm loving The Sound of Reverie, of course, and it goes out on such a strong note because we have that fading into probably my favorite transition track, which is the final one, Lonely. It's one where we actually get some lyrical content, and it's kind of hitting me in the feels. It's something that brings you down a little bit, but at the same time, it's like you need it. It's like a pat on the back from a friend, knowing that maybe they've been through something too. You're getting older, you're going through these changing times, and then that fades into How Do You Feel? And I'm liking that one. There's a few things that I would maybe change here and there. I don't like how it starts off a little bit slower, and then the chorus is just such a different energy, but I am loving it overall just because I love the message of the song. It's almost like they're playing doctor and psychiatrist here, and I like how they present the message of it, and the guitars on it are pretty wicked as well. That's something that I have to commend all throughout. They have some electrifying performances. Some of my favorite ones are like the solo on the opening track. I'm loving Do You Remember the Other Half of 23 as well. That's one where they really almost just steal the spotlight. They're loud and in your face on Black Butterflies and Deja Vu, but then they kind of go for a more restrained thing on Taxi, and it works out extraordinarily well for the Maine as well. At this point, honestly, everything that they're touching is turning to gold. I'm so proud of these guys. I'm loving the fact that a rock band is turning out a rock album in 2017. That seems to be a rare feat, a rare accomplishment, and I love that they're sticking to their guns, doing this totally independently. That's right, their first completely independent release ever, and that is really cool. I can't wait for my vinyl to get here. I think I got the purple copy if I'm not mistaken. Let me know what you guys are thinking of this record. I think that if you haven't heard it yet, you have to do it. Don't do yourself a disservice and just wait forever to hear it. Go ahead and do it now, because this is easily probably going to go down as one of my favorite records of the year. Just a feel-good time, something that you can get lost in and also connect with emotionally, because you've probably been through a lot of these things too. Me personally, I'm gonna say this thing's got a pretty damn high replay factor. I would recommend checking out my review of American Candy as well, because like I said, I feel like this is kind of a companion album to that. They have a lot of the same characteristics and traits that made that great, and I'm gonna go with a strong 4.5 out of 5 for the Maine's new album, Lovely Little Lonely. Don't forget to leave me a like on this video and subscribe to the channel, because friends don't let friends go unsubscribed. If you'd like to help me out on Patreon, click this little annotation over here in the corner. Click right here for the American Candy review or my Forever Halloween review. If you would like to see a top 10 the Maine songs, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm thinking about maybe either doing that or eventually a ranked episode with all of their albums in order. Let me know what you want to see most. Social media linked in the description, and other than that, I'm going to see you guys very, very soon right here on ARTV. A lot of albums dropping this week. I'll probably be getting to them next week, so stay tuned.